Good morning and good evening to all of you who've joined us today. In fact, I think it's good afternoon as well in some parts of the world. Welcome, friends, all of you back onto Sai Artsaras. Today, it is an absolute honor, delight, and pleasure for us here at Sai Artsaras to welcome and speak with the very eminent Carnatic musician, Kalaimamani Sikil Gurucharan. Sekil Gurucharanji needs no introduction at all. He is among one of the foremost young performing musicians in Carnatic music in India today. He is the grandson of the renowned Sikil Kunjumani, elder of the internationally acclaimed flautist of the Sikil sisters. Gurucharan Ji is an A-grade All India radio artist. And in fact, he has this very unique honor of being featured in the very eminent Indian magazine, India Today, where he has been named as 35 game changers under the age of 35 in India, a list of young achievers from different walks of life. Gurucharan Ji's overall career is very versatile. While he completed his master's degree in financial management from Loyola College, after completing post-graduation, Sikilji did a brief stint as a radio jockey at World Space Radio. Very interesting, Gurucharanji. I didn't realize that there was another facet to you. In his profile, he was in charge of presenting programs, interviewing artists, doing voiceovers, and so on for the 24-hour Carnatic music channel Shruti. Needless to say, his musical career involves a lot of performing extensively in India and abroad. He has performed in many, many prestigious venues such as the Music Academy, Sri Shanmukhananda Sabha, Riverside Theatres in Sydney, the Esplanade Theatres in Singapore, Korean Arts Management Center in Seoul, to name a few, including the Cleveland Tyagaraja Festival in the United States. And what is very interesting about Gurucharan Ji is, apart from his traditional Carnatic music concerts, conforming to the traditional Paddhati style, Gurucharan Ji is in great collaboration with the renowned pianist, Anil Srinivasan, and they've brought together classical piano, Carnatic vocal music to create a format which has been termed as devastatingly beautiful by the legendary guitarist John McLaughlin. And another honor that Gurucharan Ji brings to the table is that in the album that he worked in collaboration with John McLaughlin and Mandolin Srinivas and Louis Banks, called Miles from India, it was nominated for the Best Contemporary Jazz Album at the 51st Grammy Awards. Gurucharan Ji, I cannot do justice to your bio. You have so many accomplishments. You have been awarded so many different titles and conferred so many honors. I don't want to take too much of this time. I recommend everyone to go visit your website to learn more. But we are very excited to have you. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you so much. Eagerly looking forward to meeting audience through Saya Saras.
No, we are very, very honored to have you. As you know, Gurucharan Ji, and I think many of our audiences tuned in the past as well. Sai Saras, while we are a relatively young organization, a lot of our mission is in trying to, focus on the arts and sciences, especially in the interplay of sciences and the arts. And I think we are so excited to have you on board with the Hexagram series, which you're going to be talking about in just a little bit. But just for the benefit of our audience, I was wondering if you could please maybe touch upon a little bit of your musical projects that you've been working on, currently that you find very interesting. I know there's been a few exploring the science and math behind Carnatic music as well. If you could just share a little bit before we move on to our hexagram discussion.
Sure, definitely. And first of all, thank you for inviting me on your platform. And please call me Guru Charan, because I am more than Guru Charan G, I'm Guru Charan C. That is my initial. So I'm comfortable with you calling me Guru Charan. That's enough.
Okay.
Anyway, to answer your question, I think, yeah, I think every artist's life, it undergoes some kind of transformation every now and then. So they kind of reinvent their style, not consciously, but it just happens because of external factors, probably some of your physiological factors, psychological factors, and you just end up thinking differently. And if that works, that becomes your style for the next few years before something else strikes. So that has been my life since, till now. Thankfully, it has taken me through various terrains, beautiful landscapes, and I've really enjoyed performing live concerts, albums, recordings, and all these things. But I think it was sometime in 2015 that I really started looking at Carnatic music from the lens of a stream of art which has beautiful scientific techniques to it. So in 2015, I got this wonderful opportunity to do a fellowship in University of California, Davis, as part of the Fulbright Nehru Excellence Award, where I actually interacted with students who were not aware of Carnatic music. And it was a huge challenge for me initially to communicate our art form to that new bunch of listeners and consumers, I would say. But what they did to me in turn was to make me explore Carnatic music as an art form which has sound scientific principles. So I started going back to my roots, going back to my early lessons, and I realized that there is so much of science that we have, without knowing it, we have developed ourselves so much in these scientific techniques of frequencies or swarasthanas, and we've gotten used to a lot of these swarasthanas, so many ragas, and a lot of talas. And while it is necessary that we acknowledge the core identity of Carnatic music as being an evolving art form, an art form rooted in tradition and culture, it's also necessary to acknowledge the fact that Carnatic music can speak different languages and different cultures, two different cultures also. So it can speak to multicultural audiences as well. So that kind of kindled my curiosity more into how shall we reach this music form to the student base who have not yet experienced South Indian culture or South Indian music. And that happened even at home in India, when I started going on regular tours for this beautiful and a very unique organization called Spic McKay. It's a very famous one, founded by Dr. Kiran Sethji. So I take upon such assignments as a yatra for me every year, because we are literally posted to a different part of India, exposed to a different culture of India. So as varied as the Dakshina Kannada region or Uttarakhand or far east of India, and in Kerala, interior Kerala. So all these places we visit schools and colleges, and we are faced with this challenge of how am I going to make these people understand and enjoy Carnatic music for the next 1 hour. So that gave me a lot of experience as to how to treat this art form as a beautiful combination of science and art. And for all these school students, making them understand ragas and talas and songs as nothing but frequency modulations and time signatures and mathematics and arithmetic, and a lot of these stories behind the songs also were hugely interesting for these people. So I think that plus this pandemic situation that we are facing for the last 1.5 years never seems to end. So that has actually given me more opportunity and more time to engage in such projects where I can reach out to newer audiences. And the latest one is your Sai Art Saras, which made me come up with this 6-dimensional event called Hexagram.
Right. No, I think, very nicely put, Guru Chiranji. As a scientist myself, I'm always, sorry? Oh, yes. Okay. It's going to take a little getting used to doing that. But I was just saying that, one of the things, being a scientist myself, I've always looked into this kind of interplay between the arts and the sciences, and we're very excited to do this. And the hexagram, as you mentioned, is very unique, both from a scientific standpoint and a musical standpoint. While if anyone reads about the hexagram, it's very easy to quite understand what it is from a geometric or an arithmetic standpoint. And also, what I found very interesting is, in addition to the scientific implications, there's a lot of sort of cultural implications across the board, over all the communities. And even in nature and science, actually, you can find hexagram motif repeated itself in biology, actually, which is very interesting. I've never thought of that, right? Like when you look at the DNA or the RNA, which is usually like a double helix, when you deconstruct it, it looks like a hexagram, apparently. And to me, these kinds of things are very interesting. But I'd like to, if you don't mind, explain a little bit your perspective of the hexagram from a music standpoint, and how we are relating these two.
I should thank you for this series, because it was your request that made me think and made me come up with this idea. Because I remember the first time you contacted me, you said you want a concert for 60-70 minutes, but you don't want to release it as one whole concert, but as 6 or 7 different parts. So one song every weekend. Well, I had not done that till now in this online concert era. So that was kind of new for me. And I thought, why not, make it a 6 as long as it is a 6-part concert, why not make each of those 6 parts meaningful and unique?
Exactly.
And immediately anything that is 6-sided, that would be the title of this event. And I think we came up with the hexagram as the title, which could speak to different audiences.
Correct.
Yeah, for me, the songs that I've presented, the 6 dimensions or the 6 variations of Indian classical music. And I'm using the term Indian classical music because not everything that I've sung is strictly within the realm of Carnatic classical music.
Correct.
Because I like to refer to Carnatic classical music as Indian classical music, but it's from the south. It evolved and developed from the southern part of India. So in these 6 songs, we have presented different shades of Indian classical music. And some of the shades are very well known to a Carnatic audience, but not to a foreign audience, not to a new audience. And some of the other shades, some of the other dimensions are very well known to a new audience, but not yet to a Carnatic audience. So there I saw the combination of a very exciting event. You take the hardcore Rasikas and you take a new set of Rasikas and you put them together and you give them 6 songs which speak equally. Some people understand something, but some people don't, and the same people understand something very well. So that is what we have tried to come up with in Hexagram. And I got a wonderful team of musicians who worked with me for each of those 6 songs. N.C. Bharadwaj on the mridangam, Sai Rakshit on the violin, and Vedant Bharadwaj on the guitar and the banjo, and my dear friend and famous pianist and educator, Anil Srinivasan, who worked with me on one of these songs. So the idea was to keep all 6 songs completely different from each other, just like the 6 lines that form a hexagram. So the first 3 lines that form the upward facing triangle and the next 3 lines that form the downward facing triangle. So those 6 lines are the 6 songs that I'm representing. So each of these songs have intersection points. They intersect with each other through raga, tala, meaning, and other common factors that we have in Indian classical music. And at the end, if you can analyze the hexagram from the borders, the edge of the hexagram has these 6 little triangles that are formed. And those little boxes on those little triangles are what I think of as those 6 songs. They are independent. They don't touch each other. They're just independent little triangles which are formed by the intersection, first of all. The intersection leads to the formation of a very unique and a very self-sustained triangle, little triangle at the top. So we have 6 of them. Those are the 6 songs. And if you analyze the epicenter of those 6 lines, or the epicenter of the hexagram itself, that is where the bindu is. So we have the Sri Chakra, which is also a very advanced form of hexagram. So in that, the center point is the bindu, and I would like to think of that center, the core identity of Indian classical music, which we have not given up. So wherever we went with these little triangles, the epicenter remained the same. So there, in that bindu, in that central region full of energy and full of force, I would imagine the identity of Carnatic classical music, South Indian classical music, which is preserved intact, no matter how we try to present it in a different way. That is the whole story. Yeah.
I think this is going to be very exciting. I definitely want to convey this to our audience. It's not just different, but the thought that has gone into it, on how to present it, and also to get our rasikas, our audience, to think about the scientific bent to it while consciously listening to our music. And to your point, every time you listen to Carnatic music, we're not thinking about the scientific angle behind it. And I think this time this would make everyone think a little bit more about that. And I really think this is truly a meeting of not just science and arts, it's also a meeting of culture, I feel. It just coincidentally happens to be that the hexagram is prevalent across so many different cultures. And also from an art standpoint. And I thought it was very, very interesting. And we're only at this point, I think, scratching the surface, Gurcharan. So I hope, going forward, we could go in depth into this and, explore more facets as well. I was also wondering, do you think this would relate to your new initiative around teaching Carnatic music with a mathematical or a scientific bent?
Absolutely. As you rightly said, we have just scratched the surface, and I sincerely hope that other people start digging deeper. Once we have scratched the surface, it's for everyone else. And if most of these musicians and most of the rasikas, they come together to unravel the secrets that our music has, that would be great. That would be really helpful for the art form to evolve in a much needed way. And I think the way I would probably teach Carnatic music henceforth will definitely be influenced by this hexagram, the learnings that I had through hexagram. For example, one of the songs that I'm presenting is all about mathematics and frequencies. So although we cannot completely translate swarasthanas as frequencies and talas as mathematics, but for the sake of simplicity and for the sake of general understanding, we need to use those terms. So I would suggest that to a new student who's entering Carnatic music from whichever region, whichever culture he or she may be, for them to understand and to enjoy the process of learning about ragas, learning about talas, it's necessary that they look at Sarigama Padanisa as an ascending order of frequency. So sa, re, re, re. So the frequency increases little, and they have to understand that the sound or the frequency is one up than the previous one. So that would be a great takeaway for me from what I did in hexagram in all each of the 6 songs, I would say.
No, absolutely. We're very excited here at Sai Hathras, and we hope our audiences as well. I just wanted to also mention to the audience, in addition to the fact that we're exploring the interface of science and art in the Hexagram series, the series itself is dedicated to a very noble cause. Sai Hathras as an initiative, Art Abilities for All, where we've been providing a exclusive platform, visual and performing art platform for differently abled and disabled artists globally. And I think, we have to thank you, Gurcharan, for your kind acceptance to support this wonderful cause as part of the Hexagram series. So, it's a very, very multifaceted project, touching the lives of differently abled artists. And especially in this current pandemic situation, they need even more of our help. So we appreciate our audience also with that support, and you and your team, Guruchanji. Sorry, see, I cannot drop the G.
No problem.
But it was absolutely lovely talking to you, and thank you for making the time again to speak with all of us. And we are going to release the first song on April 11th. We'll have a little introduction to this song prior to April 11th, and then we'll be going through a series of 5 more releases, like you mentioned, right, Guruchanji?
Absolutely. So I think the audience, you will be in for a treat, and I hope you all end up liking this event, which has been painstakingly curated, and we all had fun curating this event because 6 dimensions of Indian classical music. I'll just give you a sneak peek because most of the people whom I spoke to, they were always asking for what are the 6 songs, So I just told them maybe I'll give you 1 or 2, not more than that, because I want you to come and listen to the songs being released each weekend beginning April 11th. So yeah, as I already mentioned, one of the songs is all about tala, is all about arithmetic, addition, subtraction, multiplication, multiples of 3, 5, 7. It's all about that, coupled with the different ragas that we have in Carnatic classical music. So it's all about frequencies and arithmetic. And directly in contrast to that is one segment which is called Unchained and Unhinged. So, well, these are 2 concepts that are hugely familiar to a Carnatic audience because they would not come out of a concert hall happy if they have not heard Raga Alapana and Swara Kalpana. So this is a given for them. But for a new audience, we are going to term this as Unchained and Unhinged. So what happens during a Raga Alapana is that both myself and my violin artist Sai Rakshit, we just choose a random set of ragas. We are not bound by time, we're not bound by tala or a rhythm that we have to adhere to completely. So we take these little detours and we choose different pockets of ragas, we choose different ragas, and we switch to Tanam singing, which is also a freestyle singing, and then we go to Vrittam, which is also freestyle. So it's all about it's similar to a little boy running scot-free in a huge park. He has the whole park for himself. He just has to discover different areas of the park, different play items, and he has a whale of a time. So that is what happens in Unchained, the segment. So we have these 2 contrasting segments, and like that we have 4 other segments that will hopefully engage you and enlighten you about Indian classical music. As Dr. Ranjani said, this supports a very noble cause, art ability. So please do make sure that you enjoy the concert and at the same time contribute generously to the wonderful cause that this program is associated with. Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Arjun, for joining us today and spending your precious time talking to us about this. We look forward to the series and we look forward to your audience for joining us as well. Tune in starting from April 11th for the wonderful Hexagram series. And thank you once again, Gurucharan. Have a lovely night and see you soon.